Alright, so in just 12 trading days, I managed to make $8,000 trading the NASDAQ, US30, silver, and the Bitcoin chart. For some reason, Bitcoin was the best chart and US30 was the absolute worst. So I always start on the daily chart, right? I'm looking for the bigger picture. After that massive push that we had to the upside, this chart has pulled back to a key level. Notice how I never look at price from any random spot. This was a support level where we've seen the buyers stepping in before, and the key here is to notice how the market was trying to push down, but it could not break past this spot. Yes, now once I saw price respecting that support on the daily chart, right, I needed a clearer signal. Here I dropped to the 4-hour chart, right? This is where I got my confirmation. This is what I want to always look for, right? A bullish engulfing candlestick. Now, a bullish engulfing candlestick to me is a really strong confirmation candle before I take any trade. Here the market is telling me that the buyers have arrived. They're stepping into the market. They're currently in control. Now, this is my green light. It's the sign that, you know, the market is about to reverse the trend. Whatever trend it was on for the short term is about to reverse in the opposite direction. And at this point, I know that now I can definitely start looking for buying position. Yes, now I know the direction of the chart, but I don't just jump in for the sake of it. Just because I have a bias, it doesn't mean that I should immediately go into the trade. Now I go to a lower time frame, like the 30-minute time frame. You can use the 15-minute time frame, but for me, the precise entries are always on the 30-minute time frame. Yes, this is where you find the best risk to reward, right? That's where you get better places to put your stop loss. Right here, I'm always looking for, you know, that breakout of a small consolidation that we'll be having, and or for a retest of a key level. Then the first trade was a simple breakout. I waited for the market to move sideways and form a resistance level. As soon as I saw, you know, a strong candle break above that level, I just entered the trade, right? I wasn't looking to hold this trade in the long term. My target was the next resistance level. I set my stop loss just below the recent support area to protect my money. And when I saw selling pressure start to kick in at this level, I closed the trade right away. So I got in, I made my profit, and I got out of the market. Yes, now with that first trade complete, what you have to do is to step back, see what the market has done, look at the new candlestick. The move to the upside that we just had created new support levels for us. So at this point, it was me waiting, you know, for the market to come back and retest the new support levels. So there's a lot of waiting that comes in when you're trying to look for the best entry. Now, as sure as anything, the market came back down and tested the second resistance level, but it didn't break out, right? The candlestick gave me a clear signal. We have a rejection week at that level, which is a sign that the buyers are stepping in right at this point, right? As soon as that candlestick closed, I entered a buying trade. My stop loss was set just below the new support area that we had, and I was aiming for a quick move to the recent highs. And once again, when I saw the selling pressure stepping in, I quickly took the trade and I exited my trade immediately. Ooh, and this next trade, yes, this was a bit different, right? This trade was a bit on the risky side, right? I was not as patient as I should have been. I saw that the market had created new support areas and it was building up, right? So I jumped in early, you know, expected a quick push without waiting for a retest. And yes, I ended up being in drawdown for a couple of hours before the trade eventually then moved up. As you can see, when the momentum became strong, I even added another position to my winning trade. But as soon as I saw a new resistance level forming and the price starting to weaken at that level, I exited both the trades. And this was a lesson in waiting for a clear signal, but you know, it still did pay off. All right. Now let's talk about something important, right? Losing trades. Because this next trade that I had was a losing trade, but was also a valuable lesson. And I lost the trade not because I changed anything in my strategy. I was using the exact breakout strategy that I've been using plus price action. all this time. Now we had a new support level here. The market broke, came down, and it hit my stop loss at this level, and immediately it reversed, right? This is a classic, stop loss hunt, and it happens almost all the time. But when I saw what was happening, right, when I saw the price starting to climb with these little bullish candles, I quickly jumped back into the trade. I rode the momentum up to the next resistance level and I took my profit. So even after that loss, right, I quickly got back onto the charts and still came out with a winning trade. Now let's look at the next trade. Another loss, but this time it was totally my fault. The market broke out of a level, right? It came back down, as you can see, and I had a limit order waiting. That's the mistake I made there, right? It got triggered and I was off the charts, meaning I did not wait for any confirmation for this trade. Now this is a crucial mistake. It happens to a lot of traders, right? If I had waited for price to retest, yes, if I had waited for a simple retest and to see a clear sign of rejection at that point, I would have totally avoided that loss. But instead, I do not want to be glued on the chart, so I set a limit order, which means the market will just trigger my, limit, whatever level I put it on, and moves in whatever direction. I wouldn't have really waited for any confirmation for this particular trade. Now, this next trade was a really long one, right? I entered this trade on a Friday, expecting that since it is crypto, I can trade it over the weekend. However, there was a problem with the prop firm I was trading, Funded Next. They allow you to hold trades over the weekend, but they don't allow you to actually trade. That's in taking, exiting or opening new trades. You can't do that. So I ended up being stuck in this Bitcoin trade over the weekend until Monday, and I had swap added onto the trade on top of that. But this was a good lesson in understanding the specific rules of the platform that I was using. You should always check all of these things to avoid these crazy, rookie mistakes that I made when I was trading this account. Here, my entry was based on a classic, price action, what we've been doing all the time. The market was consolidating here and the sellers, clearly lost momentum. We can see that, right? When I saw a strong bullish candlestick, which is right here, I entered the trade expecting a move to the upside. So it was what it was, right? I had to deal with swap for holding the trades over the weekend, which I could have just avoided by closing the trade on Friday. But at the same time, yes, my mistake of not checking if I could hold and trade over the weekend. I could have just closed, the trade on Friday, but it's all good. Okay, so it's already our second to last trade on Bitcoin. And this was a really good movement because I used the classic price action strategy for this particular trade. I waited for the market to drop into a key support area. This wasn't just a random level, right? This was a support zone that held strong in the past, right? We go back, look at price in the past. This was a really strong zone. Now, as soon as the sellers brought the price down to this level, they started to lose momentum, which we can all clearly see. Now, I waited for confirmation, and the first thing that I saw was a clear bullish candlestick, right? That was my signal. It was a beautiful move, and honestly, looking back on this trade, I should have really added positions to this breakout that I had, but it was still a good trade. And my final trade was back on the 4-hour time frame. I used that classic 4-hour breakout. I just rode the last bit of the move because here I was actually waiting to just, pass the prop firm. At this point, I just needed like $500 from the Bitcoin and $500 from the NASDAQ trade. So I wasn't really looking to hold the trade for a longer time. Now here, the price dropped. I joined, and as soon as it hit the level that I was watching, I just exited the trade. That was how I got in and out of the market on the 4-hour time frame. It was really simple and straightforward here. This was more like a quick scalp, even though it was on a higher time frame. So that was the entire $3,800 breakdown on just the Bitcoin chart, NASDAQ and USD. To make up the total $8,000. I did explain those trades during, the previous videos. You can check those out. It was just this particular trade that I had not explained. So I went in and out of the market, reacting to the higher and also to the lower time frames as, the candlesticks were forming. And that was how I was able to capture, so much of just this one single movement. So I hope you can actually see the power of price action here. It's not about having, multiple lines signs or indicators or guessing on the charts. It's about understanding and being able to read what the candlesticks are saying. Price action really teaches you to be patient, to wait for that clear signal. So by understanding all the concepts that I just spoke about in this video, you can also start finding, high probability setups just like the ones I have shown you guys today. With all that said and done, let's see what we are looking for the new week. We only have FOMC for this current week, and that's going to be on Thursday. But other than that, it's going to be a smooth week, and I'm super excited to see what the NASDAQ, USD, and gold have in store for us. Let's go on to the charts. Oh, if you are new, find the channel for the first time, welcome. We trade the NASDAQ over here. If you're returning, welcome back. You already know what's up. Don't forget to hit that like button, turn your post notifications, and subscribe to the channel. All right, let me not even start with how ridiculous US30 acted for this week, right? Now, for my inner circle, it was totally bad because I just gave the signal and it gave us 100 pips and just tanked to go and tap on my stop loss. Just to tap on my stop loss and totally move up in my direction to break out of the all-time highs. I was so mad at US30. So that's the trade we totally have on US30 only for, 100 pips. And the next trade was on NASDAQ, which gave us 160 pips. It didn't really move so much. So this week I wasn't really on the charts as, often as I should have been because we didn't really have much of the setups also if you look at it. This is exactly the US30 trade. Can you make this make sense? Now notice, this is 45,400 at this level. I want you to just notice the stop loss that I had given on this trade on US30, right? Look at this. 45,400 by US30 stop loss at 45,400. What did the market do? Just decides to go to exactly 45,400, tap on my stop loss, and just push up with this crazy movement. US30 it just pissed me off. I said a couple of times, if you're in the free group, you saw me saying that US30 is so stupid, right? That's true. So we could have had a good trade, but we did not because of whatever reason. Let's see US30, right? So this is a simple setup that we are having for this current week because you can already see that we have new highs on US30, right? So the market just got to a certain level, gave us new highs, and started to tank down. You can clearly see the level that the market is going to right now, right? It's going back to the all-time highs once upon a time. It's going back to those highs and it wants to retest those highs. And this is a setup that we see almost every single time. At this point, I think anyone who watches this channel already understands what they have to do at this level. We have to wait for the market to give us a good rejection, either in this level or in this level, right? We're going to have two support areas. This is going to be as simple as, I'm just saying it, right? That's exactly what we want to see on US30. So as it comes into this zone, probably, since this is going to be an obvious trade, then I would suggest we wait for probably this level here to be our point of interest, right? But the very first one, it will still be a good point. It's now going to just depend on how much you are risking on that trade and where your stop loss is going to be, right? Then the second one should definitely hold because that's going to be a trend line, probably with a little bit of a weak, a bias because a lot of traders are looking at this level. Then obviously, just as usual, we're going to expect the market to then shoot up and, just play out. So US34 this week totally looks tradable, very simple, unless we just see those type of movement where the market just drops like that, right? But we're not expecting that. Let's just go on to the NASDAQ. I think this was a mentorship class that I was teaching. That's why I have so many lines on the NASDAQ. Now the NASDAQ trade was a really classic move, really good trade that not a lot of traders would have seen when I took that trade, right? Or when I gave it as a signal, because it was simply this movement here. You can see we have that breakout, and I gave the NASDAQ signal somewhere in this level, right? And then we have our stop loss right at this spot, right? So this is not a trade that a lot of people actually take. Normally people take sales at that zone, but you can clearly see what I was looking at here. First of all, I was looking at the little build up that we're having at the zone. And I was also trading this candlestick here, right? This candlestick was telling me a lot of things. You can see how we have, the sellers pushed this market to this level and then the buyers pushed it right back. And all of this is happening at this zone. So I totally knew that the buyers are in control of this market. Then that's how I ended up giving a nice trade on this NASDAQ chart on Friday. So I had 160 pips on 4 trades. That's like $640 on the NASDAQ, right? So it was a pretty decent trade, I mean, for just this movement. So what we're looking for this current week, the exact same thing that I said on US30, right? The only difference here is we would have help of this little trend line that we have here. So would expect it to drop a little further before we start looking for opportunities, right? And the same levels that I would want it to react on, those are the levels we're going to be looking at on the NASDAQ. Now, this is on the 30-minute time frame. That's the only thing that would make it, a bit shaky, right? Now, if we go over onto the higher time frames, these were the previous all-time highs, meaning that this level might just get disrespected. We have a little trend line here, something like this. Yes, I think the trend line will still stand, right? But we shouldn't ignore the fact that this is a week, right? So what we're going to do is we'll clone that. We're going to clone that because we want to look for a good area, right? And then we're going to make it like this and just to extend it, right? And then now we have our area. This is our area of value on the NASDAQ. Then we're going to delete this and allow the market to just drop, right? You can see that even now it drops into this zone. We now know that probably it will react off of this trend line. Now, where can we have a good support area in respect to that trend line? Also, it's going to be like right here. It comes back for a retest and we want it to respect the trend line. That can probably happen at this level. Go on to our gold chart. I don't think I'll actually clear this gold chart because the trend lines is too simple and straightforward. So as you can see with my 2 trend lines that I have, this trend line guiding us, you can see that we broke out of it. Then for me personally, it means that the sellers are currently controlling this market, right? And I want to see this market dropping, coming to this trend line here. When we come to this trend line, then I might start looking for buying positions. So that's going to be, let's say, in these areas here. These areas. Then if we go on to the higher time frame, sellers tried to, reject in this market or whatever, right? It's like right at this level. So I do expect the market to still drop to these areas first before it starts going up to the top. So for gold, for now, that's simply what I'm looking at. I don't think it's complicated. I don't think I'll analyze the Bitcoin chart also for now, but I think with these 3 charts, we will be able to make the most out of this week. Yes, now if you did enjoy that video and you found the breakdown helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, turn your post notifications and subscribe to the channel. You feel me? With that, it's been Tino and I'll see you guys in the next lit video. Love you guys.